So, hello. Well, it's a really, really beautiful sight. I wish you could see what I see on this end. It's really wonderful to see you all here. My name is Angela Onwuachi-Willig. I'm the Dean at Boston University School of Law. I'm the first Black Dean and the first Dean of Color. Thank you. And I wanted to start by reiterating what Evangeline Mitchell said. And she said that you are loved, that everybody here is here to support you. And I wanted to say that's absolutely right. You are loved. I've been traveling a lot. I got on a plane early this morning so I could be here. And I'm going to be traveling again soon, so I won't be able to stay long. I want to tell you I'm going to put my cards here and people can pick it up. And feel free, honestly, to reach out to me. But I came here because I really wanted to be here to meet you. I wanted to be here to congratulate you for coming here. Such a wise decision. I did not do anything like this before I came to law school. And I also wanted to let you know, too, that it's not just me, it's not just Evangeline and her staff. It is our entire community of Black attorneys. One of the things is that we have to reach out more to each other. And even if you send somebody an email and you say, I really need your help, I really need your advice, and they don't respond, don't worry about following up. Chances are is that email got put on, they got a million other emails, and they forgot to respond to you. Make sure you follow up because there's everybody here to support you. Alrighty, so I want to tell you a little bit about my story. I didn't know any lawyers growing up. I knew one lawyer. I met one lawyer. I had a high school teacher. I'm from Houston, Texas. Anybody from Houston? So from Houston, Texas, and I had a high school teacher who knew an African-American attorney who went to her church. And she asked him to hire myself and another student, African-American female, for a summer job. And at the time, I didn't realize how important that was. And it was important because working with him and learning from him showed me that I could be an attorney. And one of the reasons why I think it's so important for you to be here is that you'll see and you'll hear over and over that you can be an attorney. Now, even as I say that, when I left that summer, I didn't think that I wanted to be an attorney. I left thinking actually that I wanted to do something else. But when I got to college, I took a couple of courses. I took a seminar on the Black Panther Party. I took a course on Chicano culture. And in that course, we talked a lot about how lawyers, about how those groups actually, now how the Black Panthers, activists use the law to their advantage. And I knew that it was something that I wanted to know how to use this very important tool to address many of the issues that I saw around me, my community, and that I read about and heard about all over the world. When I got to law school, I had a range of emotions. I was excited, I was scared, and I felt a little alienated. And I want to tell you that you might, and this sounds weird, I think the law is that you can have a really beautiful life in the law. But being honest, one of the things that law does is that it really sort of law is a very effective tool for social change, but that social change through law comes much more slowly than you would imagine. And so when you go to law school and you realize that, I don't want you to feel discouraged. When you go to law school and you are in classrooms where people are talking about the law as though race and gender and class and all those issues are not deeply embedded within those cases, I don't want you to feel discouraged. I want you to raise your hand if you see those issues, and I want you to bring them up. And if somebody in your class brings up those issues and you agree, I want you to support them. One of the things that happens to many students of color is that they bring up a number of issues, and a professor, because they're a fallible human being and they're somebody who may not feel comfortable talking about race. They may not feel like they know enough about it, might sort of push it to the side, or may not address it. But I want you to know that it's not that your point wasn't a good point. It's really more about them. And I want you to know that you should continue to follow up and bring up these issues in class. We're a long way from being completely inclusive in law school, but we can get there if we continue to push back. Now, after I went to law school, I want to tell you a couple of things that I think that are really important to do. The first thing I want to tell you is that your career, actually, and Evangeline made this point, begins now. When you're in this room, you're thinking about networking with people. These people are going to be people you may ask to be clients, people you may try to convince to be clients, people who may hire you into a job. Your career begins now, and you have to think about how you want people to remember you. When you go to law school, you should make sure you're building a good professional reputation, and that means you make a point of meeting deadlines. When you say you're going to do something, that you do it, that you're as honest as possible. The other thing I want to tell you is that I want you to always remember that wherever you go to law school, that you belong there. One of the things that I've learned as a dean is that there's no admissions, and there's no admissions committee that makes any mistakes. You are there because you belong there. The committee read your information, and they thought that you had something to contribute to the law school. I won't go on being civil to each other because Jessica brought that up. The other thing I wanted to tell you is to use your academic enrichment resources. So one of the things I think that as including myself when I was a student, a lot of students of color think, well, I can't go use those resources because then that'll make it seem like I need help. And the secret is the best students are the people who are using those resources. The best students are the people who are learning how do you take an exam. They're learning how do you write an exam. How do you make sure that, I don't want to go into Iraq, but how do you make sure that you're laying out all of the things that your professor wants you to do? So I want you to make sure there's going to be an academic enrichment program. There are going to be resources. There might be free tutors at your law school, and take advantage of all of that. I wish I had done that when I was a law student. And the best students do that. I want you to know that. At the same time, I want you to also, as I want you to be active in class, I also want you to practice your listening skills. But in part for the reasons that Jessica said, because it opens up your mind to viewpoints that you may not have previously considered. But also because I think listening is one of the most important skills for being a lawyer. Listening will make you an excellent lawyer, right? The best lawyers are actually the best listeners. You need to know how to listen to understand what your clients want and what's actually important to them. You need to listen to understand what the opposition wants, and more importantly, what the opposition might be hiding from you. So basically, learning how to listen will be critical to your achieving your goals. The other thing I want to tell you about law school is that I want you to join a study group of people who are not your normal friend group. Research has shown over and over that the best work comes out of diverse groups. And the same applies to understanding the law. Studying in a study group with diverse perspectives broadens your viewpoint. It gives you access to information you may not have otherwise obtained. When I was in law school, I had my study group of my close friends, an all-black female study group, and I also had a study group that was more diverse, that was predominantly a white study group. And the important thing about that is that it exposed me to viewpoints of people who had different life experiences than I had, and it also gave me access to information that they had. I didn't know these things, but I was learning about. I learned about clerkships. I learned about something that their parents told them about how to write an exam. or how to pursue a particular position because their parent was a partner in a major law firm. And I think it's really important for you to make sure that you're reaching outside of your network. Go outside of your comfort zone. And I understand the need to want to be around each other, to get affirmed, to get strengthened so that you can go back out into the world, but it's really important that you expose yourself to study groups, people who are have different backgrounds and who think differently than you. But it's especially important because you'll get access to information. One of my regrets is that I'm somebody who learns by doing. So how many people think that, how many people know that they learn by doing? So I knew that going into law school, and yet I didn't take advantage of perhaps the most important thing, the most important way that I can learn by doing, and that was doing a clinic or doing an externship. And clinics are these small classes where you work with a professor. You're working on live cases. The professor is teaching you how to work on these live cases. You're writing the briefs yourself. You're making the arguments yourself. And most importantly, I think you're growing in ways that you don't grow in a classroom. So I want to encourage you to take a clinic or an externship. I didn't do that. And I remember distinctly when I went into practice, when I clerked for a federal judge initially, and looking at these cases and thinking, oh my gosh, now I get civil procedure, right? And you want to be thinking, now I get these courses when you're in law school, not after law school. Take care of yourself, mind and body. Studies show that exercise correlates with academic progress. And also remember that tending to your mental health, because you're going to be working in a very, very rigorous program, is essential. There is absolutely no shame in seeking support. In fact, the strongest people are the people who know they need help and they seek it out. The other thing, and although it might be contradictory, you might say, is I think it's important that you remember who you were before you came to law school. It's very easy to allow law school to entirely consume your life. And I think you have to remember, what were the things that you loved to do before law school? If you love to write, if you love to play music, if you love to play basketball, if you love to do football, remember all of those things and give yourself time to enjoy those things. You will be healthier. You will be more emotionally strong and stable if you allow yourself to take those breaks. Yes, you will be working very, very, very hard, but there were things you valued, there were pursuits you enjoyed, and there were friends and family that you loved, and you can't forget them while you're in law school. You have to remember to allow yourself to enjoy life. Now, this is going to be hard for you to understand because you're not quite yet in law school. And in law school, everything's graded on a curve. So that means there's only a certain percentage of people can get A's, a certain percentage of people can get B's, and so on. And all of you are talented, smart people. I know many of you have done well your entire life, right? And now you're going to be coming into an even more competitive environment than your college. And not everybody is going to be in that 10% of people who gets A's. And what I want to tell you is that it's really important for you to remember that grades are not a measure of who you are. Grades are important. They can open up professional doors for you. But if you're not at the top of your class, it doesn't mean that you won't be an amazing attorney. You don't have to be one of the anointed ones in your law school to succeed as a lawyer or a business person or in any other professional career. I would actually say I was not one of the anointed individuals in my law school. And here I am, I'm standing here as a dean. I was a law professor, I worked in major law firms, I had a couple of clerkships, and I was not one of those people that was deemed to be the star of my law school. The thing that also follow up with that is that you can't obtain anything you did not apply for. So you have to believe in yourself. If someone tells you you can't do something and you want to do it, you should try it. If somebody tells you that they don't think you're competitive enough for a clerkship or competitive enough for a particular job, it doesn't mean that you'll get it, but you can't get it if you don't apply for it. So don't allow anyone to knock you out of the running for anything. The other piece of advice I want to tell you is to visit the offices of your professors. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You'll gain insight. And none of this, I hope we won't remember most of this, but when somebody says this again to you in law school, it'll make sense, right? When you go to your professor's offices, you'll gain insights about what they think is important. You'll know what issues your professor finds to be important. You'll get to know them, you'll get to know their expectations, right? When you ask them a question and they don't know about the particular issue at that moment, that probably means that you're asking them right before finals, it probably means it's not on the final. Right? I'm telling you. And the final thing is I want to circle back to what I started with, is that you support each other. Most of us have a fear of saying things in class. Most of us have a fear of putting ourselves out there. And if you support each other, it'll give you the courage to do those things. We don't want to be crabs in a barrel that are pulling each other down. It is only with the support of each other that we can succeed. And it's only with the support of Black professors, white professors who are allies, other minority professors who are allies, that you can succeed. And I want to make sure that you support each other and you reach out for support from a variety of people. With that, I want to say that I really, really, really hope that you consider applying to Boston University School of Law. We have an amazing, amazing, wonderful history of diversity. Since we opened our doors in 1872, we have admitted all qualified students, regardless of race, gender, or religion. We are very unique in that regard. We have a wonderful history of first. Barbara Jordan, for the people who are in Houston, is a graduate of Boston University School of Law. I'll give you an example, although at Harvard, is that our first editor, Black female editor-in-chief at Boston University School of Law was in 1925. And if you look at my own law school, University of Michigan, first Black female editor-in-chief was last year. And I believe this year is Harvard's, right? Or was it last year? Last year, right? Ours was 1925. Edward Brooke is also one of the graduates of Boston University School of Law. He was the first African American elected to the Senate since Reconstruction in 1966. He was the first African American elected to be the Attorney General in Massachusetts in 1962. We have a rich, 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 rich history. I can tell you so much. I hope you go to our website and you read it online. And of course, as Dean, I'm completely committed to these issues. We have 7 African American professors in our faculty. Yes. And we really have a faculty that's really committed to even making our faculty more diverse, to making our student body more diverse. We had our largest number of African American students last year and 12 years. And we want to make it even larger this year. So I really hope you consider applying to Boston University School of Law. Thank you.